Hello friends! This is just a unscripted video that I am making to tell you about two things. The first is regarding the YouTube channel. As you might have noticed, the last 4 videos that I have put up on this channel have been my podcast with Julia and Peter, Shit Island. This has worried some people that I have abandoned making other kinds of educational videos about Marxism or what have you, and dedicated my time fully to making a podcast, which the majority of my subscribers don't listen to. I'm simply here to tell you that that is not the case. I am working just as much on my videos as I did before I started making the podcast. The podcast itself doesn't take that much time out of my day to do. We sit down for about an hour to record, editing the audio takes between 3 and 4 hours, spread out over a few days, and making the visuals for the podcast takes almost no time whatsoever. The majority of the time is taken up by the rendering, which is only about half an hour. I made a short patron-only text post over on my Patreon, patreon.com/Azure Scapegoat, where I talk a bit about what my next video is going to be about. For all you non-patrons though, I can give you a hint, it will be about philosophy and it will be tied to Marxism and capitalism. So yes, basically, I'm not making fewer videos or spending any less time making my main videos just because I'm also making the podcast. Now for the news regarding the podcast. It is official. iTunes, or Apple Podcast as they are now called, have rejected Shit Island. This is because the title of the podcast includes the word shit. Now, I did point out in an email to whatever customer care representative was on the other end that there are podcasts on the iTunes store with names such as Cumtown or Shitstorm. But they basically said we can't talk about other podcasts, this isn't what this is about. This is about the fact that your podcast has shit in it and it's not allowed to. So I said basically that's bullshit, and they said we will get back to you. Peter, Jules and I had a bit of a discussion about this matter, and we discussed the possibility of changing the name of the podcast, or possibly changing the name of the podcast uniquely for iTunes, but at the end of the day we concluded that we're not going to do that. We're not going to publish the podcast to iTunes under a different name, because then you wouldn't be able to find it by searching for it anyway, which kind of defeats the point of putting it on iTunes. So we have decided to say fuck you Apple, and fuck you Apple Podcasts, and fuck you formerly known as iTunes. We have published the podcast Shit Island on Spotify as well as on Stitcher, which is a competitor to iTunes or Apple Podcasts. And you can also find the RSS feed on feeds.feedburner.com/Shit Island. Link in the description if you're interested. That means that if you have an app on your phone, for example, where you listen to podcasts, then you can add the RSS feed link directly and it will show up in your app as normal, nothing weird. Personally, I use Gpodder because it's free and open source, and there's a client available on Linux. If you have listened to our podcast, thank you very much indeed. And thank you especially to my patrons over on patreon.com/Azure Scapegoat, Joshua Cheeseman, Not Jojo, M. Lim, and Yuan Jiangming. Thank you very much for your money. I hope I will make you proud. I hope you will feel that it's money well spent. Thank you for watching this rambly, unscripted update video. Next video that will come up will be the 5th episode of Shit Island, and the video after that, I hope, don't hold me to it, but hopefully will be the philosophy, Marxist, capitalist video that I'm excited for. Yes, look forward to it, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.